I might not be a big fan of Apple, but I am a big fan of displays. So of course, when they unveiled the new Studio Display, we had to get one. But hold on, because we also had to get the new Studio Display XDR, which notably doesn't have Pro in the name anymore for some reason, but who cares, because it's allegedly very, very nice. And I want to see it for myself before I, complain about how much it costs. So let's unbox these guys. We'll start with the Studio Display. This one, to be perfectly frank, is actually really similar to the old one. It's 5K, 27 inches, 60 hertz, oh baby, and comes with the stand attached. A nice little paper cover. I like how light it is. It's really easy to carry. Inside here, we've just got what looks to be a USB-C cable. This is a 1 meter Thunderbolt 5 Pro cable. The Pro comes from the sleeving and whatnot. This is expensive. For the 1 meter version, it is a very nice $69 US. So you're getting that in the box. Considering the monitor is expensive, good. We'll get to price later. Let's take a look at what else we've got, because there's some kind of box strapped to the back of this. This just holds the cable. That's kind of fun. A little pointless and wasteful, but I actually really enjoyed just unraveling the cable out of the box as I pulled it away. I don't know why, but I did. And then this just pulls out because it's, it's got these indents here, so you can actually put it back in nicely without ruining the packaging again. I love and hate this at the same time. I'll take the fancy peel off with the paper, and it just comes off so nicely, and you can actually keep this nice and pretty if you ever want to sell your display later or put it away nicely or something. I'm just gonna set this over here. Ooh. Also stays in very nice shape and becomes very easy to reapply. This is something I would love TV and monitor manufacturers to do, because you already save, well, I don't know about you guys, I tend to save my boxes in case I have to move. I hate that I can't reapply the peel. And the foam wrap that comes with a lot of displays, it's nice, but this makes me feel a bit more comfortable. All you get is tilt, that's it. Anything else, you gotta move the whole monitor around. You can get the upgraded stand, but it's gonna cost you like $400. And if you do it after the fact, I don't know how easy it is to see on camera, but this is like very integrated. I don't trust myself to take this apart and put the new one on here. So you're gonna have to send it to Apple. It's gonna cost you more money. Make the decision before you order it from the store. I mean, the reality is, it's pretty light and it's easy to rotate around. So like, this isn't the end of the world. My main issue is height adjustment. There is 0 height adjustment on this thing out of the box. And like, that's a big deal. Oh, you can't pivot it either. But like, those things are nice to have, but if you don't have height adjustment, that's kind of make or break, at least in my opinion. She's kind of thick, but it's also not OLED, so this is actually pretty reasonable. And this is the regular coating one. The XDR that we're gonna look at later, we did get the nanotexture glass. So we'll take a look at those side by side so you can decide for yourself what coating you want. Let's take a look at everything else. The only other major upgrade we've got is the new camera. It's still the same 12 megapixel center stage camera, but now we've got the desk view. How much you'll actually use the desk view, I don't really know. It seems more of something that they've kind of just tacked on during production. We've got ventilation at the top here. I don't know if these are speaker grills or not. There's no more cheese grater mesh at the back that a lot of people are, love or hate on, so that's gone. Nice Apple logo on the back here. Everything's just clean. I'll give Apple that. Their design is very, very clean and like user neutral. I don't even want to say user friendly, at least in terms of just aesthetics. It's like user neutral. On the back, we've got not 1, not 2, but 4 USB-C ports. These are both Thunderbolt 5. One's for your display in and the other's meant for daisy chaining if you want to hook up multiple monitors off of like one cable solution. You could also use it for a dock, considering, these don't have KVMs built in, especially because there's no USB-A ports anywhere. Another main difference between the regular Studio Display and the XDR is that the power delivery on this guy is only 96 watts. So while that is going to charge most of your devices, you might struggle a bit if you're trying to both charge the battery at the same time as you're trying to do some kind of like really intense workload. It'll work and it'll trickle charge, but you're not gonna get the full fat. But enough about the less expensive but still expensive option. Let's take a look at the one we've all been waiting for, the Studio Display XDR. Oh wow, okay, this is a way better experience if you follow the instructions. Okay, pull that back and then push this forward with the arrows. Yeah. Wow, and that just opens right up. Inside we've got nice monitor. Oh, baby. We've got the same Thunderbolt 5 Pro cable and the same, oh no, there's something else here. Oh, you get the fancy Apple polishing cloth when you get the nano texture glass on a device. I think you should get it anyway. It costs $20, which is also kind of wild. And they even have a compatibility list to show you just what it's compatible with. It's a microfiber cloth. It's compatible with everything. There's nothing else in the box, despite being, you know, there's multiple other boxes. Like there's nothing in here. On the one hand, yeah, sure, it feels very protective, especially for a display that costs as much as this one does. But on the other hand, like, really, you guys? Like, this just seems kind of wasteful to me. And I get that it's recyclable, which is good. There's no foam in here, but it just, I don't know, still seems like a lot of waste. Oh well, let's look at the monitor. We've got more box around the back here, even more packaging. Unlike most of our other packaging, I mean, I guess that has a purpose too, but this has a purpose, you know, it's to make sure that this doesn't just kind of spring up on its own during shipment. This one also had a peel. You know, we had a few complications when we were taking it off, but that's okay. It will come protected when it shows up at your doorstep. Brad likes the matte coating. I don't. I'm very much a glossy kind of boy, and I instantly dislike this compared to the other one, at least with no content on. Content displaying, this is gonna look way better. We're talking mini LED with like over 2,000 local dimming zones. It hits like 2,000 nits peak, and it can do about 1,000 nits sustained full screen. So it costs a pretty penny, but I'm actually pretty excited for this. The stand is much better in the sense that it has height adjustment, which is good. I'm kind of sad that that's like a selling feature, but here we are. One of the main advantages though of this stand is that it doesn't cost $1,000. So this time, if you're buying your Studio Display XDR, you don't have to just look at the price and then do mental math of $1,000+ if you want to come with a stand. So thanks, Apple. That's cool. And then it's got that same cable box on the back that I enjoy unraveling. Wow, look at me go, Papa. It looks basically identical to the other one. I mean, you still can't rotate it, you still can't pivot, but at least we have height adjustment now. And can we angle? We can still angle, so that's pretty cool. Still got the same cable coming out the back that doesn't want to disconnect on its own. Otherwise, yeah, it's the same I/O on the back here, just for USB Type-C, but these two here are Thunderbolt 5 again. This time with the max rating of 140 watts power delivery. And yeah, otherwise it really is just almost the exact same. Let me get them side by side, because I want to look at the nano coating. The XDR is ever so slightly thicker. We are talking about like millimeters here, people. The only other major difference is the grills here. Like this has about twice the speaker grill as this one does, or cooling, I'm still not sure, but either way. Oh, it probably is cooling, because this is gonna go to like 2,000 nits versus this is only doing about 600. But I still haven't seen the coating. Yeah, like I'm sure with content it'll be a little different. The glossy still does have an anti-reflective coating on it. It's not doing a whole lot of anti-reflecting. Whereas the nano texture glass, I gotta say, basically zero reflection here. You get the cloth, I guess, but it's an extra $300 for the nano texture and a $20 cloth. So you make your own decision. I definitely think that there is a use case for either. I'm not gonna know which one I like more though until I turn them on and actually watch content on each of them. And I can't do that until I tell you about our sponsor.
A VPN can be used to mask your location online, allowing you to obfuscate your browsing data from third parties that might want to collect that info. Private internet access does exactly that. And in doing so, it even opens up a world of streaming and entertainment that might not be available in your region. Its network spans over 91 countries, and you get unlimited connections with just a single subscription. So go check it out at piavpn.com/shortcircuit or by using our link in the description for a special exclusive deal with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee.
If you don't have any source material, they don't show anything except for this, which tells you, hey, plug something in. As someone who wants to troubleshoot things, I don't like that. There's also like zero navigation for an OSD or anything because it's all done through software. As a person who loves PCs and normal displays that have all that stuff on board, it's a little disappointing to see that. What happens if both your devices break? You don't know for sure if it's the monitor or not. You want to just test one thing at a time. You can't do that. So you got to take it to the Apple Store and spend more money. Alas. Let's daisy chain these bad boys so that we can look at the same content on both of them at the same time. We've got our MacBook plugged in. I will say, this is just the lock screen, you know, so we get some cool motion effects. But I do prefer the regular glossy display over the nano texture glass. You know, with both displays set to whatever brightness they're at, and they're pretty matched up right now. Yeah, I kind of like the one on the left more. I don't know, but let's put some more content on them. Let's watch some HDR footage. These are both set to HDR and running HDR content, but there's a little bit of a problem here. The XDR is using Apple's 2026 CMF. So it's going to be running at a slightly different white point than the 1931 CIE that's going to be on this guy, and frankly, most displays. Aside from that, this one looks way better. I mean, it should. It's a significantly more expensive display, but when you get dimming zones involved, like this is HDR, but like it's really not, because it's just, you know, full screen brightness, whatever. Whereas this actually has like highlights and dark zones, and it just, no! However, all of the actual reference modes on the XDR are still using CIE 1931, which is the most common one that you're gonna find on pretty much every other display, except for I think the Sony Bravia that we tested like a couple months back. They're trying to do their own thing too. But I've really gotta say that it's kind of no contest, right? The XDR just looks so much better. I mean, the blues look more vibrant on this building. You get actual dimming zones. Oh, I wanna see if I can spot them now in like content. No, it's a lot harder on an actual video. Like I mentioned before, these are both 5K displays, so we're getting a solid 218 PPI, which is actually really good. They've also both got speakers, which is always a plus, and they're using the A19 chips with the A19 Pro going in the XDR, just for the, you know, some better image processing. The other major downside, if you're trying to decide between these two displays and you think, well, you know, I could save a couple grand. Unfortunately, what you're also not getting when you save that money is higher refresh rate, because this guy caps out at 60 Hertz, and it also caps out around 600 nits of brightness, which is a little disappointing. Whereas with the XDR, you're getting 120 Hertz, and you're getting that sweet, sweet 2000 nit peak brightness I mentioned earlier. And when you spend a bit extra on the when you spend a lot extra on the XDR, you're also getting Adobe RGB and DICOM for anyone who's, you know, in the medical field. It might not matter to you, but for professionals buying these displays, that's probably gonna be a big make or break part of the decision. Now, as for color accuracy, I'm happy to say that they're both relatively color accurate. In Internet and Web sRGB reference mode, our Studio Display Regular measured a Delta E average of under 1, which is very impressive. And then the max was under 2. It was like 1.81. And then as for the XDR, we got almost the same results. A little bit higher on the average, a little bit less on the max. Still well under the Delta E 2000 of 2 that you want to get. As for HDR, the Studio Display, it supports HDR, but it doesn't really do it. You don't have dimming zones. It's going to be a bad experience. We did not measure it. But the XDR display, we measured HDR video reference mode, and we got a Delta E ITP measurement average of 2.35 with a max of under 5. That's impressive. The only thing that we've ever measured that's better than that is the iPad with the tandem OLED display. It's certainly not perfect, you know, it's only gonna do 2000 nits, which, I mean, sure, that's still pretty good for a monitor these days. But there are other displays coming out that are getting even brighter. It actually does have quite good contrast. It's not an OLED killer, but you know, it's pretty solid. I would like more dimming zones. 2000 is still a lot for a display this size, but like, it's just tough to beat OLED when they've got per pixel dimming. But I digress. What I really want to know is, can I game on the 120 Hertz Apple Studio Display XDR? Of course I can, let's do it. One problem with using this with a Windows device instead of Apple is I can't really adjust anything anymore. So if you have a MacBook, you can plug that in, change things, and then hook it up to your computer, and it will keep all of those settings, which is on one hand kind of cool. On the other hand, it's infuriating that there's not just physical buttons I can sit here and fiddle with to fix whatever brightness settings I want to change. Another minor thing is like HDR is just acting kind of funky with Windows. Steam, I don't know if you can really pick this up on camera, but the Steam overlay like flickers a little bit when I change windows. So let's just load up Cyberpunk and see how it looks. All right, here we go. Cyberpunk, it's at 4K. We're using a pretty janky adapter, but that's all right. We still got 4K 120. Everything's working and it is beautiful. Like straight up, It's a really good HDR experience. The screen is very bright. It's very vibrant. It looks absolutely stunning. I think we measured something like a 12 millisecond gray to gray, which is not great, but like this is gameable. Especially if I wasn't playing a first person shooter and I was playing something more third person or just a little less, fast paced than Cyberpunk. At 120 hertz, we measured just a couple milliseconds over the theoretical perfect. So it's still getting, there's not a whole lot of extra latency, which is always great. I definitely wish the motion was better. As someone who is spoiled, I notice it. But the highlights on the gun, the highlights on the car, the sky, the colors, like the HDR experience is genuinely fantastic on a display like this. Let's talk about the price now because you're paying a lot for it. For the regular Studio Display, you're paying about $1,600. Admittedly, it's 5K on a 27-inch panel, so that's, 218 PPI. But considering it's 2026 and you're paying over $1,000, I really would have liked to see 120 hertz. It feels bad. I don't care if there's a camera built in. I don't care if there's speakers built in. 60 hertz spending over that, like that kind of, no, that's just unacceptable. The XDR has 120 hertz. The XDR costs about twice as much at $3,300. Our model with the nano texture glass costs a little more than that. I'm just glad they don't cost $5,000 plus an extra grand for the stand. It's nice to see not only the display tech get better by quite a bit, to be frank, while also seeing a price cut, but $3,300 still feels like a lot in this day and age. I don't know, you guys, the reality is Apple's still gonna sell a ton of both the XDR and the non-XDR model, and I can't say I blame them, because they're pretty nice. They're just, they're overpriced. But if you're already an Apple user, you wanna stay in the ecosystem, I guess. Can I recommend it? No, I can't. Like, the price is just astronomical. Can I tell you it's a good display? Absolutely. Both of them. They both look really good. They both tested well. I just, I can't put my rubber stamp on that, not when the price is so high. Thanks for watching, guys. This is the Studio Display and Studio Display XDR. If you want to see another video, look at one of the tandem OLEDs I checked out recently. Those are pretty nice too. And hey, they're coming down in price. You can get an OLED gaming monitor for a lot less than $1,000 these days.